Oh, hey. It's like 2 minutes early, guys. Huh? While we're waiting, we can look at the lowest fucking quality husk you've ever seen in your life. Just look at all those pixels. And this is a great way to stall for time, too. You want to know why? Because I hate the fucking husks at this point. It's quick attack. I knew this thing was going to be quick attack. We've talked about husks indefinitely at this point. I have nothing more to say about these. Just show me how these goddamn things are generated at this point, Riot. It's been a week! I don't know how to rate these because I don't know how to make these! Okay. 4 mana focus, SNEEZY BIGGLEDUST. I don't like that name. That name sounds weird. Give allies +1/+1 this round. If they're created, give them +2/+2 instead. Huh. This is an interesting way of pushing Bandle City creation. There are a decent amount of Bandle City cards that create units in some capacity. And this is a focus speed +2/+2 board buff. This card looks kind of nasty, actually. Like, it's not as ridiculous as Yordles and Arms was, which could get you up to +4/+4, just for having created, or no, played cards from 4+ regions. If you played 4+ regions of cards, you'd get +4/+4. Instead, this has a different, and harder to get niche, where you need to have created the card. And if you do that, then you get +2/+2. It's a weaker buff. It's the Yordles and Arms buff if it doesn't get upgraded. But the main power behind this is the focus speed board buff. I don't think we have a board buff to this effect that is focus speed. We really don't have any burst or focus speed power buffs to this effect. And I mean, a power buff as big as +2/+2, it's not overwhelmed, but we've seen with cards like Winding Light from this past meta and expansion that it can still be a prominent effect, you know? That much power. Because a lot of what hurts with Winding Light is the +2/+1. The overwhelm is very good. That is adding a lot of power behind Winding Light, but it's also the stat buff that creates a bit of an issue for it, you know? So I think this card is pretty good, honestly. This card will probably see play in Bandle City decks. The only issue behind it is just the restriction behind the created prereq, you know? That's a bit of a hard prerequisite to achieve. If you can achieve it, though, you're in a pretty good state. It's just getting that value to achieve it. Okay, Shurima, 6 mana burst, costs 2 less for each different Ascended ally you've played this game. Manifest a card from the Emperor's deck with 9 cost or less. Oh, fucking no. Oh, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, thank you. No, thank you. I did not need to see this Mono Shurima buff. Oh, fuck. I didn't know when they would print Emperor's deck support. I knew it would come eventually, because people had always complained about how Emperor's deck was a little weak as Azir's level up. So, like, you knew the Emperor's deck was gonna get supported in a different way eventually. They don't need to be leveled either. Nope, you just gotta play the champion. Taking the Emperor's deck away from being Azir's specific level condition seems kinda nuts. I'll grant 6 cost puts it to a point where it's gonna be hard to make this viable outside of a Mono Shurima deck where you're already running Ascended Champions. Yeah, I feel like I don't need to explain a lot of the inherent power behind the Emperor's deck cards. The fact that you can have them outside of the Emperor's deck now is just ridiculous. This is a great tool for any Mono Shurima deck, and it might be good enough for any Shurima deck, right? These cards are nuts. Imagine you know, I've been hyping up Zillion with the new Rite of Passage card. Imagine playing this with Zillion level 2, right? You play the Glory's Call. He can copy that. You can play whatever unit you generate with the Glory's Call. He can copy that. And it just creates this effect where you're going to have game-winning cards on call, basically, right? If you need a cheap blocker, you can play the 2-mana 5/4, and it's a really good attacker, too. And it draws you one. It cycles through your deck. If you need a win con, you can get the General's Palace and get vulnerable and rally and everything. Shurima itself might just become a scarier region because of this. I'm not sure whether or not this is strong enough for the rest of Shurima to run it, but it looks like it could be. Alright, next up is Swindle. 2-mana burst and Bilgewater. Manifest a non-champion card from the opponent's hand. Plunder, I cost 1 less. Okay. They're going back to Nab in a fun little way. I like this. This is a fun little idea. I think the Plunder is unnecessary, but that is kind of just Nab's effect, right? A lot of Nab cards have that Plunder specification, so it makes sense that there's Plunder in it. I like that you're pulling specifically from the enemy's hand. Like, you can look at their hand, basically, and go, okay, I want that one, and then you get a copy of it. It's nice, too, because it doesn't steal from the opponent's hand, so they're not going to be like, oh, what have you done? Why are you stealing my hand? Nab is broken! You know, the thing that happened at the launch of Rising Tides. Oh, actually, Spell Thief is a good line of thought. You can use this in a Zoe deck, can't you? In the same method that Spell Thief is used. You use Spell Thief to, like, grab the opponent's spells that they've cast and then use that to cast yourself. This lets you do the same thing, but with your opponent's hand, and can maybe even give you a unit instead, and that could be better. I like it. I'd like to see where this goes. I'd like to see if Nab gets buffed from this, because Nab was funny. And out of all of the things the Legends of Runeterra community complained about, Nab was by far not the most broken thing. Okay, Ransom Riches, a 1-mana burst, manifest a follower you can afford. So what this is this is the follower version of Stone Weaving, which is Thalia's champion spell, the 1-mana manifest on landmark you can afford. This does followers, though. God, if you thought Bilgewater was the bullshit RNG region before, buddy, you ain't seen nothing yet. There will be times where you manifest Ledros off this. There will be times where you manifest Drag Dredgers, right? You're not gonna know what you pull. But this can just pull some bullshit, right? I think it's a Nami card. I agree. This is absolutely something Nami's gonna want to run. It's a very cheap proc for spells, and then you can play another unit after that for Nami to be able to proc. This is absolutely going to be slotted into some Nami decks. The question is, where does it go beyond that, right? This is going to be the most nuts bullshit random card in all of Bilgewater's repertoire. I think it's fitting it's in Bilgewater with how much bullshit it's going to be pumping out. I think this card can see play. I think there is power behind this card. Alright, the last two cards are both P and Z. The first one is a 2-mana burst, Salvaged Scrap. To play, discard up to 2 cards, create that many followers from your regions that cost 1 more, and reduce their costs by 1. Too many words. Too many words. Okay. You discard 2 cards. This card then creates 2 units, that are 1 more expensive, and then reduces their cost to the cost that the cards were. I guess you play this in Victor decks? Maybe? I mean, here's the value of this card, right? If you're in a shit situation where you've just got a handful of nothing but spells, you can use this card to transform those spells into units. And that can save some situations. Zoe Victor? Maybe. Yeah, that's possible. This can save some situations where you otherwise might be in a bad state, you know? If you're in a situation where you're, like, your opening hand is Salvage Scrap, and then you pull Pale Cascade, Guiding Touch, Mystic Shot, Get Excited, Static Shock, and you're like, well, shit, I've got no units. You can instead use the Salvage Scrap to just discard some of those cards and replace them with followers, and then they'll have their cost reduced, so they'll be one less expensive than what they should be, and you can get them down a turn earlier than they're supposed to be. You're just messing with RNG to get them down, you know? This card's just kind of weird. I don't think it's not going to see play. I think, again, Victor can get some value out of it. The created effect is very good for Victor. I do like that it can transform spells into units, because that is a situation you can run into sometimes. I cannot believe I'm looking at this card right now. They made a joke about this, right? How Practical Perfectionist made an evil twin of herself. And that was the interaction for if you played an Imperfectionist with the other Imperfectionist. This chick looks like Boo from Monsters, Inc. Check the full art. Oh god, do I want to? Okay, hold on. I haven't even read the card yet, guys. Oh my god. They turned a voice line into a fucking card. Oh my god. Okay. Evil Imperfectionist. Pick a card in hand. Create 4 exact copies of it in your deck and reduce their costs by 1. Ooh! Zillion support it is! I'm happy! More Zillion support! Yay! You play on Time Bombs or Hexite Crystals. Chrono Break or Chrono Breaks. Yeah. This is actually a really good card for Predict. The 4-mana 4/2 stat line is pretty good. I'm a little sad they didn't make it a 2/4 stat line because of, you know, this is the evil clone of Practical Perfectionist, but I'll let that slide. Yeah. This is really good for Predict. Predict has so many different cards it wants to make more copies of. And usually when you draw them, you're like, well, shit. Alright, fuck. Because you want to be able to make more copies of them before you draw them. And that's why you'd be tempted to run things like counterfeit copies when it's kind of a bad card. But in this situation, right, you can just create copies of, you know, anything that's in your hand, and then just boom. The fact that it reduces their cost by 1/2 is nuts. Time Bombs will go down to 1 cost with this card. Predict is actually going to be a bit of a scary card now. If you copy a card it already copies, would it be -2 cost? Yeah, probably. I think that's how... Yeah, it creates exact copies of it. So you'd be able to make cheaper versions of it. Evil Imperfectionist is really going to make Predict a solid archetype. It's already been seeing play. What was the card that made it see play? There was a card that they printed. Oh no, what happened is they buffed Kahiri down to 5 cost. And that's what got people to start experimenting with Predict again. Evil Imperfectionist, I think, is the last missing piece for Predict, right? Because a lot of Predict is, there's just, weirdly, not a lot of consistency for what Predict can do for you. And this lets you be more consistent with it. If you have a card in hand, you can just put it back in your deck at a cheaper cost and save it for later. And if you do that with something like Time Bomb, you're in a fantastic state. I'm predicting this card will be good for Predict? Exactly. I am predicting, using my foresight, to see that Predict will be a good deck now. And this card will be a great component for it. Okay, I like today a lot more than yesterday. Yesterday, I pretty much only was really hyping up Rite of Passage. Now, today had a lot more cards that were fun and interesting and, like, less niche. Today was a good reveal day. Today, good reveals. I'm here for it. Hey, more Zillion support for the 2nd day in a row. Tomorrow we're getting Eve. Tomorrow is patch notes. Tomorrow is Eve. It's the last stretch.